I am a woman in my mid-30s, seemingly ordinary and accommodating. From the outside looking in, my life appears to be the standard American dream, a modest home in the suburbs of Boston, to children in elementary school, and a career in financial planning that I've put on semi-hold to raise my family. The kind of woman who brings homemade cookies to PTA meetings and never misses a soccer game. The type who doesn't make waves. My relationship with my family seemed normal until last Christmas. I'd always known there was favoritism, my younger sister Melissa being the golden child while I was the responsible one. But I'd convinced myself it was just my perception. Our mother had raised us alone after our father left when I was 10 and Melissa was 7. I stepped up, became the second adult in the house, helped with Melissa's homework, made sure she had nice birthday parties, even worked part-time jobs in high school to buy her the trendy clothes Mom couldn't afford. Growing up, I remember how Mom would always find extra money for Melissa's dance lessons, but told me soccer was too expensive. How Melissa's graduation party was a catered affair at a hotel, while mine was a backyard barbecue, where I ended up serving the food. The pattern continued into adulthood, Mom offering to babysit Melissa's children whenever needed, but always having plans when I asked. I told myself it was because Melissa needed more help or because she was better at asking for what she wanted. My husband Ryan would sometimes point out the disparity. Have you noticed your mom paid for Melissa's entire wedding, but we got a $500 check toward ours? Or interesting how your sister's kids get lavish birthday gifts, but ours get $20 gift cards. I defend Mom, making excuses about her budget or her memory, not wanting to admit what was right in front of me. I began noticing strange behaviors when I overheard my mother and sister talking in the kitchen during Thanksgiving dinner last year. They quickly changed the subject when I walked in, exchanging looks that made my stomach tighten. Over the next few weeks, there were hushed phone calls, browser histories cleared on Mom's computer, and an unusual number of girls' lunch dates that I wasn't invited to. The week before Christmas, Ryan and I were struggling with an unexpected expense. Our furnace had died in the middle of a Boston winter, and the replacement cost was draining our emergency fund. I casually mentioned it to Mom during our weekly call. Not asking for help but just sharing our stress. That's tough, Emma, she said flatly. Have you considered one of those payment plans? I hear they offer good terms these days. 2 days later, Melissa called me, bubbling with excitement. Mom just helped us book a spring break trip to Disney. She's paying for the whole thing, hotel, flights, park tickets, everything. Isn't she the best? I remember standing in my kitchen, phone pressed to my ear, feeling that familiar knot form in my stomach, the one I'd been ignoring for decades. That's wonderful, I managed to say. The kids will love it. Mom says she's been saving up for ages to do something special for the grandkids, Melissa continued, oblivious to my silence. Oh, and she mentioned she has something big planned for Christmas too. After hanging up, I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the stack of bills for our new furnace. Ryan found me there an hour later, still staring. Everything okay? He asked, placing his hands on my shoulders. Mom just booked Melissa's family a trip to Disney, I said. All expenses paid. Ryan's hands tense on my shoulders. Of course she did. And meanwhile we're eating ramen for a month to pay for a furnace. She's allowed to spend her money however she wants, I said automatically, the defensive words feeling hollow even to me. That's what you always say, Ryan replied, his voice gentle. But at some point, Emma, you have to acknowledge the pattern. What they didn't realize about me was that I had expertise in financial forensics. While I presented myself as a regular financial planner who'd scaled back to part-time for my kids, I actually specialized in tracking hidden assets in high-net-worth divorce cases. My clients were primarily women who suspected their husbands of hiding money, and I had built a reputation for finding what others couldn't. I developed relationships with private investigators, digital forensics experts, and some of the best divorce attorneys in Massachusetts. My specialty was following the money trail in complex financial deceptions. I'd uncovered offshore accounts in the Caymans, shell companies in Delaware, cryptocurrency wallets, and elaborate schemes involving loans to friends that were never meant to be repaid. I knew that money never simply disappears. It always leaves a trace for those who know where to look. And I was very, very good at looking. But I had never turned those skills toward my own family. It felt like a violation of trust, a crossing of boundaries that couldn't be uncrossed. And truthfully, I wasn't sure I wanted to know what I might find. Some truths are better left buried, especially when they involve the people you love. Christmas Eve arrived, cold and clear with fresh snow blanketing Boston. We drove to Mom's house in our 10-year-old Honda, arriving just after Melissa and her family in their sleek Audi SUV. My niece and nephew ran to greet their cousins, while Melissa embraced Mom in the doorway, both of them laughing about some private joke. Mom's house was perfectly decorated, a magazine-worthy tree with coordinated ornaments, garlands draped elegantly along the staircase, and matching stockings hanging from the fireplace. My kids added the handmade ornaments they brought, which looked charmingly out of place among the curated decorations. "Those are creative," Mom said, adjusting one of my son's paper snowflakes to a less visible branch. We exchanged small gifts that night, new pajamas for the children to wear, books, and small trinkets. Melissa's children received monogram silk pajamas from Neiman Marcus, while my kids got flannel sets from Target. The difference wasn't lost on me, but I said nothing. Christmas morning would bring the main event. Christmas Day dawned bright and cold. The children were up at dawn, eager to see what Santa had brought. Mom had prepared a lavish breakfast, eggs Benedict, fresh pastries from her favorite bakery, and mimosas for the adults. As we ate, I caught her whispering to Melissa several times, both of them glancing at me with what looked like anticipation. After breakfast, we gathered in the living room for presents. The usual pattern played out: thoughtful but modest gifts for my children, extravagant ones for Melissa's. Ryan received a tie, while Melissa's husband got a set of golf clubs. I unwrapped a bath set and scarf for Mom, thanking her politely. Melissa opened an envelope containing tickets to a Broadway show weekend in New York, complete with hotel reservations. Just when I thought we were finished, Mom stood up with a flourish. "I have one more special gift," she announced, retrieving a small box with an elaborate bow from behind the tree. The room fell silent as she handed it to Melissa with dramatic flair. Melissa opened it slowly, her expression changing from curiosity to shock. Inside were keys with the unmistakable Tesla logo. "Merry Christmas, sweetheart," Mom beamed as she hugged my sister. "You deserve this," Melissa squealed and jumped around like she was 7, not 32. "A Tesla? Are you serious?" "Oh my God, Mom. I can't believe it." They rushed to the window, pulling back the curtains to reveal a brand new Tesla Model Y sitting in the driveway, complete with an enormous red bow on the roof. I forced a smile, genuinely trying to be happy for my sister despite the stark contrast to my own gift. Then Mom turned to me with that placating smile she perfected over the years. "You can borrow it sometimes, Emma," she said, patting my hand. "You know, when you need to impress clients or something." The condescension stung, but it wasn't about the car. What struck me was how Mom could afford such an extravagant gift on her modest retirement income. She'd been a high school English teacher, and while she'd always been careful with money, a $60,000 vehicle wasn't in her budget. Something didn't add up. On the drive home, Ryan tried to console me. "Your mom has always played favorites." "I'm sorry, babe. It's not that," I said, mind racing. "It's the money." "Where did she get Tesla money? Her pension and Social Security don't cover half her normal expenses." "I've offered to help with her finances for years, but she always refuses." "Maybe she saved up," Ryan suggested. I shook my head. For a teacher's salary to cover retirement and a luxury car, the math doesn't work. That night, after everyone was asleep, I sat at our kitchen table with a legal pad and calculator. I mapped out what I knew about Mom's finances, her pension, Social Security, the small inheritance from her parents, the value of her house. No matter how I juggled the numbers, there was no way she could afford her current lifestyle plus extravagant gifts. Either she was in massive debt, or there was money I didn't know about. A memory surfaced, Mom refusing to let me help with her taxes after Dad left, insisting she had a guy who handled everything. When I'd offered to review her retirement plans years ago, she brushed me off with, "You focus on your own finances, Emma. I've got mine under control." I thought about Melissa's new car, her Disney trip, her carefree spending. I thought about my own struggles, working through college, taking on student loans, budgeting carefully for my children's future, and I made a decision that would change everything. It was time to use my professional skills to find out the truth about my family's finances. If Mom was in trouble, I needed to know. If she had resources she wasn't disclosing, well, I needed to know that too. Either way, I couldn't ignore the questions anymore. I opened my laptop and created a new folder titled Family Research. Then I began to do what I did best: follow the money. They intended to keep me in the dark about our family finances indefinitely. Over the next week, I quietly began my investigation, treating it with the same meticulous attention I would give to my professional cases. I started with public records, which wouldn't raise any red flags if discovered. First, I searched property records for Suffolk County and the surrounding areas. Within an hour, I found something surprising. Mom had purchased a rental property in Cambridge 3 years earlier, a 3-unit brownstone in a prime location near Harvard Square. The down payment coincided exactly with when I'd paid off her mortgage as a thank you for all her sacrifices raising us. The property was now worth nearly $1.2 million in the hot Boston market, and according to recent deed transfers, she had added Melissa as a joint owner just 2 months ago. I leaned back in my chair, processing this information. Mom had never mentioned owning rental property, despite our many conversations about real estate investments for my clients. When I paid off her mortgage, she cried and said I'd secured her retirement. Meanwhile, she'd used that financial freedom to invest in property that I knew nothing about. Next, I searched business registrations and found Mom had established a small business LLC 3 years ago, M&M Enterprises, with Melissa listed as co-owner. The business had no obvious purpose except to own a vacation cottage on Cape Cod that rented for $3,000 a week during summer months. A vacation home I'd never heard mentioned, despite our family's many conversations about someday being able to afford a place on the Cape. My professional instincts kicked in, and I knew I needed to get financial records. That would be trickier. Ethically and legally, I couldn't access Mom's accounts without permission. But I had other resources at my disposal. I called an old college friend who worked at the bank where Mom kept her accounts. Technically, I shouldn't have done this, but Jessica owed me after I helped her through her own messy divorce last year. "Hey Jess, I need a favor," I said after catching up briefly. "It's about my mom. I'm worried she might be in financial trouble or being taken advantage of." "What do you need?" Jessica asked cautiously. "Just confirmation of some accounts. Nothing detailed, just whether they exist and when they were opened. I'm trying to piece together her financial situation so I can help." Jessica hesitated. "Emma, you know I can't access account information without authorization. I'm not asking for balances or transactions," I assured her. "Just confirmation of what accounts exist." "She's almost 70, Jess. I'm worried." The white lie worked. Jessica sighed. "Give me her full name and date of birth. I'll see what I can find out." An hour later, Jessica called back. "Emma, your mom opened a new account about 5 years ago," she whispered over the phone. "Large monthly deposits from an external source. And she added Melissa as a joint holder last month. Any idea where the deposits come from?" "I can't see that," Jessica said quickly. "But they're regular. Same amount, same day each month. Has been for years." This was getting stranger by the minute. A regular, substantial income source I knew nothing about. It couldn't be retirement benefits. I knew what those should be. And it had been going on for 5 years, well before Mom retired. I thanked Jessica and promised her dinner soon, then turned my attention to a new angle. On a hunch, I searched obituary records. If Mom had inherited money from a relative or friend, that might explain the extra income. What I found instead shattered my world. Robert James Wilson. My father's name jumped out from the screen, in an obituary dated just over 2 years ago. The father who'd supposedly abandoned us had apparently died with a substantial estate. From his engineering firm in California, he remarried but had no other children. The obituary described him as devoted father to Melissa and Emma Wilson and mentioned substantial donations to MIT's engineering scholarship fund in his name. I felt physically ill. Dad hadn't abandoned us? He'd been described as a devoted father in his obituary, and Mom knew about his death but never told me? With shaking hands, I dug deeper, searching for any connection between my father and mother after their supposed separation. I found records of child support payments through the Massachusetts family court system, initiated when I was 10 years old. The payments were substantial, $2,500 per month for each child until we turned 22. The math was staggering. That was $5,000 per month, $60,000 per year, for 12 years of my life and 15 years of Melissa's. Over $700,000 in total. Money I'd never seen a penny of, while I worked multiple jobs through high school and college. Took out student loans and lived in a cramped apartment with 3 roommates to make ends meet. I searched for contact information for my father's widow, finding her through social media. I drafted and redrafted an email a dozen times before settling on a simple, direct approach. "Dear Patricia Wilson, my name is Emma Taylor Nee Wilson, Robert Wilson's daughter. I recently discovered my father passed away 2 years ago. I'm trying to understand more about his life and our family history. If you're open to speaking with me, I would greatly appreciate it. Sincerely, Emma." I hesitated before hitting send, wondering if I was opening a door better left closed. But I needed answers. I pressed the button and waited. The response came just 3 hours later. "Emma, I can't believe you've reached out after all this time." Robert would have been overjoyed. "He tried to contact you and your sister for years, but was told you wanted nothing to do with him. When he was diagnosed with cancer, his greatest regret was not fighting harder to stay in your lives. Please call me at your earliest convenience." Patricia, I stared at the message, feeling as though the floor had dropped from beneath me. Everything I thought I knew about my family was a lie. I called the number with trembling hands. Patricia answered on the second ring. Emma? Is it really you? Her voice was warm and kind, with no trace of resentment for the stepdaughter she'd never met. We talked for over 2 hours. She told me how my father had fought for visitation rights after the divorce. But Mom had obtained restraining orders based on claims of threatening behavior. Claims that seemed suspicious given that no police reports were ever filed. Every few years, he petitioned the court again, only to face more legal obstacles. He sent checks every month for both of you girls, Patricia explained. He tried to maintain contact but was told you and your sister wanted nothing to do with him. He kept track of you, though. He had your graduation announcements, newspaper clippings when you were on the dean's list, even your wedding announcement. How? Mom controlled everything. Your father had friends in Boston who would send him information. He knew you became a financial planner. He was so proud. We arranged a video call for the next day, and Patricia showed me boxes of returned birthday cards, school pictures of me and Melissa that Dad had somehow obtained, and even a college graduation announcement I had no idea he'd received. She had copies of the child support checks, $2,500 per month for each of us until we turned 22. All made out to Margaret Wilson for the support of Emma and Melissa. He tried to establish college funds directly in your names, Patricia explained. But your mother threatened legal action, claiming he was trying to circumvent the court-ordered support payments. After you both turned 18, he created trust funds, but when he tried to notify you, the letters came back marked return to sender. What trust funds? I asked, feeling numb. When Robert knew his cancer was terminal, he updated his will. He left his entire estate, apart from what I would need, to be divided equally between you and your sister. The trust was worth approximately $1.2 million. The amount matched perfectly with Mom's sudden ability to buy rental property, the regular monthly deposits, and the Tesla. It was my father's money, my inheritance, being used to fund Melissa's lifestyle while I struggled. I obtained copies of the canceled checks and Dad's will through Patricia. I discovered Mom had maintained a separate P.O. box for 2 decades to receive these funds, money meant for both of us that had apparently gone only toward Melissa's college education, down payment on her house, and now, her luxury car. Meanwhile, I worked through college, taken on student loans, and struggled to save for my own children's education. Next, I secretly met with the family attorney who had handled Dad's estate. I introduced myself as Robert Wilson's daughter, showing my ID and birth certificate as proof. Miss Taylor, he said, shaking my hand warmly, I tried to locate you after your father's passing. The contact information we had was apparently outdated. I never changed my address, I said, quietly. But I never received any notification. The attorney's expression darkened. I see. That's concerning. All communications were sent through your mother, as she was listed as a trustee for both beneficiaries. He confirmed that Robert Wilson had left a trust, worth approximately $1.2 million to be divided equally between his daughters. Mom, as her legal guardian when the trust was established, had been the initial trustee. When I showed him documentation that I'd never received any distributions, his face fell. This is a clear breach of fiduciary duty, he said, and potentially criminal. While maintaining my naive daughter facade with Mom and Melissa, I scheduled lunch with Mom, casually mentioning estate planning while discussing a client's situation. It's so important to be transparent with adult children, I said. This poor woman discovered her mother had hidden assets and favored one sibling. Now they're locked in an ugly legal battle that's destroying their family. Mom shifted uncomfortably, but didn't take the bait. Some things are better kept private, Emma. Parents know what's best, but legally, if money was specifically designated for both children, I think your client should respect her mother's wishes. Mom interrupted sharply. Family matters should stay private. The conversation confirmed my suspicions. Mom knew exactly what she was doing and had no intention of coming clean. I needed more evidence before confronting her. I consulted with Marcus, an attorney I'd worked with on many financial forensics cases, without revealing it was my own situation. I have a client situation that's complicated, I explained. A mother who received substantial child support for 2 children but only used it for 1. Later, she became trustee of an inheritance meant for both children but again diverted all funds to 1 child. This is straightforward fraud, Marcus said. If your client has documentation of the deceased father's intentions and proof the mother diverted funds meant for both children, we can file a civil suit and possibly pursue criminal charges for mail fraud, since she used APO box to receive the funds under false pretenses. What kind of evidence would be most compelling? I asked. Bank records showing the deposits of support payments, documentation proving the mother knew funds were intended for both children, evidence linking those diverted funds to assets or gifts given to the favored child, and testimony from anyone involved in the estate planning who can confirm the father's intentions. I spent the next 3 weeks building an airtight case, gathering documents, creating timelines, and preparing financial analyses that showed exactly how the money had flowed, all while maintaining the facade of normal family relations, attending Sunday dinners, listening to Melissa rave about her new car, watching Mom smile smugly across the table. I took photos of Melissa and Mom visiting the Cambridge rental property. I documented trips they made to the Cape Cod cottage. I recorded conversations where they discussed renovations to these properties I wasn't supposed to know existed. The most difficult part was keeping my emotions in check. Every time I found new evidence of the deception, I felt a fresh wave of betrayal. My mother hadn't just played favorites, she had actively stolen from me, lied about my father, and deprived me of both financial support and a relationship with him. One night, after discovering yet another account in Melissa's name funded by what should have been my inheritance, I broke down. Ryan found me sobbing at my desk, surrounded by documents. I don't understand how she could do this, I cried as he held me. How could she keep us from Dad? How could she steal from her own daughter? I don't know, Ryan said, stroking my hair. But I know you're going to make it right. You always do. I don't want to destroy our family, I whispered. Emma, look at me, Ryan said firmly. Your mom already did that when she decided to lie to you for 30 years. You're just bringing the truth to light. He was right. This wasn't about revenge. It was about justice, not just for me, but for my father who had tried to be part of our lives, for my children who deserve their fair share of their grandfather's legacy, and for the truth itself. My case was nearly complete. I had documentation of every fraudulent action, every diverted dollar, every lie. I had witness statements, financial records, and legal opinions. All I needed now was the right moment to bring everything into the open. That opportunity would come sooner than I expected, at an event that would change our family forever. The opportunity to confront Mom presented itself when Aunt Susan emailed about Mom's 70th birthday celebration. Instead of contributing to their spa gift, I offered to host a party at my home, mentioning I had a special gift planned. While maintaining my facade, I prepared meticulously, not just for the party, but for the confrontation. I reserved a private dining room at Mom's favorite restaurant for dessert after the family dinner. I prepared 2 leather portfolios, one with innocuous financial documents, the other containing evidence of Mom's decades-long fraud. I created a pretext for financial discussion by emailing Mom about estate planning advice. Perhaps we could discuss it around your birthday. She replied dismissively, establishing context for financial documents to appear at her celebration. I also contacted sympathetic relatives Aunt Susan, Uncle James, Dad's brother, and my lawyer cousin Michael, ensuring allies would be present when the truth emerged. The party went according to plan. After dinner at my house, Melissa announced their gift, a luxury spa weekend. I stood up. I have something to add to that gift, but it's at the restaurant for our dessert course. Shall we head there now? At the restaurant, I made a toast to Mom, who taught us many valuable lessons, including the importance of planning for the future. I presented her with the portfolio, saying it contained financial planning documents, a professional courtesy from one financial expert to another. Her face fell as she realized what she was looking at: Dad's canceled checks, his will naming both daughters as equal beneficiaries, property records, and bank statements showing the separate accounts. What is this? She whispered, trying to close it. Just paperwork I thought we should discuss, I said calmly. About Dad's estate and how it was distributed. Melissa looked confused. What are you talking about? Dad left us when we were kids. Did he? According to his widow, and these records, he sent $1,500 monthly for each of us until we turned 22. That's $60,000 annually supposed to be for both of us. The room fell silent. Mom's hands trembled. This is a family matter we should discuss privately, she hissed. We are discussing it with family, I replied. The same family who watched you favor one daughter for 30 years. When Mom claimed I had no proof, Ryan brought out the second portfolio with detailed financial records, property deeds, and statements from Dad's attorney confirming Mom's role as trustee of funds, never distributed to me. Mom's composure cracked. You went through my personal records? How dare you? How dare you steal from your daughter? How dare you lie about our father for decades? I did what I thought was best, Mom insisted. I raised you both alone, except Dad was sending support the whole time. You kept it for yourself and Melissa. I needed that money. She cried. I do know how hard it was, I said quietly. Because I paid my own way through college, worked multiple jobs, took out student loans, all while you had money that was legally mine. Melissa finally spoke. Mom, is this true? Mom couldn't meet her eyes. I'd already filed legal paperwork. As Mom stormed out, Melissa lingered. Emma? I swear I didn't know, she whispered. I believe you, I said. But you benefited from it. And you never questioned why I struggled while you had everything. She had no answer for that. Mom's response came through her attorney days later. She would settle rather than face potential criminal charges. After negotiations, she transferred the Cambridge property to me, established education trusts for my children equivalent to $300,000, and provided a complete accounting of all funds from my father. The Tesla stayed with Melissa. I didn't want it, that wasn't the point. What money couldn't recover was a relationship with my father I'd been denied. Through his personal effects, which Patricia saved for me, I discovered a man who desperately tried to reach us. His journal entry from my college graduation read, Emma graduates today with honors. I wished I could see her walk across the stage. I'm so proud of her strength. She did it all on her own. Except I shouldn't have had to. The family divided over what happened. Some took Mom's side, others supported me. Melissa and I have had difficult conversations as she grapples with the truth. I don't know what to believe anymore, she told me during coffee. Everything I thought about our family was a lie. Not everything, I said. We're still sisters. Mom moved to Florida, crafting a new narrative about her ungrateful daughter. We haven't spoken directly since that night. The Cambridge property now provides rental income funding my children's education. The irony isn't lost on me. A building purchased with money meant to support me finally does exactly that. Melissa traded in the Tesla for a modest SUV. It didn't feel right keeping it, she explained, knowing where the money came from. The unexpected joy has been connecting with Dad's side of the family. Patricia has become beloved to my children, sharing stories and photos of the father I never knew. Through her, I've met relatives I never knew existed. Your father would be so proud, Patricia told me. He never stopped hoping you'd learn the truth. I've established a scholarship at MIT in Dad's name for students who've overcome family adversity, honoring the father I never really knew and acknowledging that family can be both our greatest wound in strength. My daughter once asked, Mom, do you still love Grandma even though she did bad things? I considered carefully. Love is complicated, sweetheart. I love the mother who read me stories and bandaged my knees. I'm angry at the mother who lied and took what was mine. Both are your grandmother, and it's okay to have complicated feelings, she nodded. Like how I love Jacob but get mad when he cheats at games. Something like that, I smiled. Just on a bigger scale, this experience taught me that family loyalty should never require sacrificing your self-worth or accepting injustice. The responsible daughter, who doesn't make waves, finally found her voice. Last Christmas looked different, spent with Ryan's family, Patricia, Uncle James, and cousins from Dad's side. Melissa came for dessert with modest gifts. Mom sent packages from Florida, which I inspected before allowing the children to open them. As we sat around the fire, Patricia raised her glass to Robert, who would have loved nothing more than seeing his family together. To Dad, I echoed, the words still feeling new. On my desk sits the keys to the Cambridge property, not a flashy symbol of favoritism, but something more valuable, a tangible piece of the legacy that should have been mine all along. Not given with a condescending you can borrow it sometimes, but rightfully mine through justice. Sometimes, driving my kids to soccer in my practical SUV. I smile thinking about how I don't need to borrow anyone's car to feel worthy. The keys to my happiness were in my hands all along. I just needed the courage to use them.